We are currently in Pioneer Town, which was created in 1946 in order to recreate the appeal of the Wild Wild West and has been used ever since in numerous film and commercial productions. Being part of the Hollywood show business doesn't only entail you being an actor, a producer, or a director. There are many other professions that you can choose, and here are some of them and some of the people who have decided to pursue them. Zora Dehorter, casting director. Am I pronouncing the name correctly?
Yes, you did actually.
Hi.
Zora Dehorter, yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hi, it's such a pleasure
Absolutely.
to meet you.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned many times, stunning home, but we're so
thank you.
impressed.
Thank you.
I've heard, and I know, but I've heard it now from many people that casting is key.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
And that you guys, casting directors,
Yes.
have a great memory.
Yes.
And you can pinpoint people for
Yeah.
different projects.
Yes.
How did it all begin for you? How did you get into this business?
Well, I actually came out, as you can tell, I have a British accent. I was raised in England, but I'm actually Nigerian, but raised in England. And I did lots of theatre there. I went to the Guildhall School of Music and Drama while I was in school and always loved it. My family comes from publishing. My father was a publisher, owned newspapers in Nigeria. But for some reason, I got the acting bug. So I came out to Hollywood because if you want to be a superstar, where do you come? You come to Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
So I came to Hollywood as an actor, and this is, nearly 20 years ago. So at the time, a lot of the roles were very much ghettofied, what up? And I went to a proper boarding school where everyone has to have elocution and sound like the Queen. So when I would do an American accent, it was very much
like that in British.
When I would do a British American accent, it would sound like a broadcaster, middle American. I couldn't do, low-class ghetto. I just didn't know how to do it. And people would say, "What are you?" I said, I'm black. They didn't know, they couldn't connect the British with the black skin. So it was very frustrating for me. I wasn't getting as much work as I hoped I was. And I thought, you know what, I have 2 degrees. I want a business card. So I decided if I'm going to give up acting, I want to be around actors. And I always loved the energy in casting offices. And luckily I was able to work for free. I'd saved some money. So I called casting offices and said, I can help you for free. For free? Come on down. So I started working with some good casting director companies. And within a year, I got my first film. And I've been casting since, and I love it.
Well, which one was the first film?
It was actually with the director Percy Adlon, who did Baghdad Cafe. I did his next film called Hawaiian Gardens. And at first I was nervous because he got so much acclaim for Baghdad Cafe. I thought, this is my first film on my own. Can I do it? And we had a great experience together, and I kept doing it. Casting when I first started was much easier. Those were the days where you had piles of headshots, and you'd literally sit on the ground and just go through headshots. And there was only maybe you'd make a submission for a role, and maybe 300 people would submit. So it was actually kind of easy. To be honest with you, casting now is much more tricky. It's much harder now for a few things. First of all, like I said, if I put out a breakdown is when you submit to agents, managers, sometimes to actors, exactly the description of what you need. Tristan, 18 to 25, high school dropout, must be athletically fit. You put exactly the description, even maybe put the story arc of that character, and then you release it out in a breakdown to all the agents and managers.
Wow.
So it's amazing how many more people have suddenly come into this town, and there are all these new faces you never met before. So now you have to re-meet all these new people, which is exciting, but it's a lot now. It's stressful to try and go through, and now you don't have the headshots on the floor anymore.
Yeah.
Now you have these small index-sized, tiny little photos, hundreds and hundreds on a page that you just have to click on when you see something in the face. And for me, what I look for in a face is a sparkle in the eye and a nice soft smile. A lot of people want to send you that serious dramatic shot. I'm not actually attracted to that. There's a lot that goes on in people's smiles. Either there's something a little crooked or there's something with the teeth, and I need to know that stuff immediately. So I like to see a face that has a soft smile and there's something going on in the eyes, and those are the ones I click on. So that can be stressful, going through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. It takes a lot longer. So that's what's different now. And also what I find that's tougher now as opposed to the old days is that now the directors and producers seem to want people that have Instagram following, it's changed the whole dynamic of acting now, because now you're looking for personalities, which can be tricky because sometimes you want the personalities because they've got hundreds of thousands of followers. So I guess for publicity, it looks good, but a lot of times they can't act.
Yeah.
They're playing themselves, and that's what they're selling as themselves in some kind of packaging.
Is there a project that I would say has stuck with you more than the others, or that you sometimes think about that was special in some way?
Well, there was this one project that was really special to me. I was working for a German director, actually, Moritz Rettenberg. He stayed with the East LA gangs for 4 years, studying about gangs, young people and why they get into gangs, Hispanic gangs. And then he came up with this film project. And I was really blown away by the writing, the subject matter, and the fact that in the end, it was not a happy ending. For some reason, I'm really moved by stuff like that. I don't like to do things that are corny, that everything in the end is like, hey, everyone's okay. Because let's be honest, in life is sometimes you go to prison, you come out, and you go back and do the same thing all over again.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, not everybody comes back and now has a great job and has a great life, and I love things that tap into that. So this film dealt with young people, pretty much under 18, who were gang members living a gang lifestyle, and all Hispanic, all basically Mexican descent. And how many of them are actors? So I literally went to East LA, I went to Boyle Heights, all the places where a lot of these young Latin, Hispanic kids hang out, and I would just try to bring them in to audition. So I found some really raw, amazing talent out there.
Wow. Do you have like negative experiences, like actors getting frustrated that you can feel threatened or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, there has been one experience, because a lot of times when I'm auditioning actors, I'm by myself. I'm in a room by myself.
That's what I've seen from like videos and pictures.
Yeah.
And so many people from everywhere can just come there.
Exactly. So I had one situation where an actor did an audition, and it wasn't good. He was terrible, and there was something about him that made me feel uncomfortable. Yeah. So I just politely said, thank you, that's enough. And he goes, no, I'm gonna do it again. I'm just gonna do it. And he just got really aggressive with me. No. That I started to feel really uncomfortable. My heart started racing just a little bit. He made me feel really uncomfortable. And I go, okay. And I let him do it again. It was just as bad, maybe even worse, because now he had the anger in there. And it was very uncomfortable for me. And I said, yeah, that was better.
Oh, God.
And then he left, and it was very uncomfortable for me. That was the first time and only time I think I've ever felt really threatened in that way.
Because of your years and expertise in the field,
Yes.
you are an expert judge
Yes.
on a brand new show,
Yes.
The World's Best.
The World's Best. That's a really amazing experience, because another thing, as a casting director, you think, oh, I've seen everything. How am I going to get excited about this talent that's coming from all over the world?
Yeah.
But I have to say, because it is from all over the world, maybe that's why I was impressed, because you're not seeing the same kind of talent. I saw a ventriloquist from England. I saw a 13-year-old pianist. There was amazing pianist. I saw, Taekwondo group from South Korea. I mean, just all these different fantastic range of talent from all over the world. It was really beautiful. It was humbling. It was inspiring. There were times I cried at a few people.
You have to unwind sometimes because you look at a lot of people, you have to deal with people all the time.
Yeah.
And I know that can be very tiring.
Yeah.
What do you do to take yourself out of that and recharge?
Well, I am fortunate enough to have an 8-year-old child. My son is the most amazing person.
We've met here, which is wonderful.
And he's my release. We just laugh together. He does basketball, he does soccer, he does so many activities, he has so many friends. So I hang out with him, we do things together. And I love doing yoga, I love doing Pilates. So those are my ways of recharging as well. I love reading.
Thank you so much.
Thank
This
you.
was so great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
C1s.
It is a great pleasure today on Cinema Confidential that we have Peter Andrew Soli. There is no only one word that I can describe him by, so I think he will be able to help me more. Hi, Peter.
Hi there, how are you?
And we are in one of your restaurants,
Yes.
actually in between your two restaurants.
Yes, the two restaurants. I have the Coral Beach Cantina and Zuma Sushi, which were started a number of years ago when I was a little child.
Wow. When you were a little child, speaking of that, let's just
Go back,
a little bit.
okay.
You were on a production called Lassie when
Yes.
you were a child.
Yes, yes.
You did a couple of productions as a child actor, but you did not pursue that as a career. Tell
That's
me
true.
more about that period.
So when I was a child, growing up in Hollywood, my mother was a professor at UCLA and she had a lot of friends in the film industry, and they said, oh, you might be a good candidate for as a child actor. So I got started, and I was on Lassie. I was on a television series called The Gallant Men. I did a lot of commercials. I did a lot of stuff. And I was a serious little actor. I really was, and auditioned for Elvis movies and just all kinds of great stuff. And then my father, who was a marine biologist, he moved the whole family, we moved to France because he was working for Jacques Cousteau. So that kind of interrupted my acting career.
Very cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you get to see him working?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's very impressive.
yeah,
It interrupted your acting career
yes.
for a while because a few years back you went back into acting.
I did, because I always had the acting bug. It just was with me, and I love the arts. And what happened was, when I went to school in Europe, I became, very fixated on acting, and I joined the summer stock theater, and we would tour Europe. And in college, I also was an actor, so I did a lot of stuff even after, I left the United States, and when I came back,
You became an attorney.
my parents said, you got to get a real job.
That's as real as you can get, I think.
Yeah.
So you became an attorney.
Yes.
You do a lot of different cases, but I guess the creative power stayed here as well because you represent a lot of artists.
I represent a lot of artists, and it goes back in the family. My mother was very artistic. She was a frustrated, even though she was a frustrated actress, and we have a lot of musicians in the family. So I've always been indoctrinated and drawn to the arts.
And as an attorney, I'm sure you have seen a lot of crazy things over the
A
years.
lot of very crazy things, yes.
Can
yeah.
you summarize some of them? Like a couple of cases that you know.
You see people at their extreme difficulty, extreme challenges in their life. And one thing that I did learn and it stayed with me the rest of my life from acting, and what I learned as an actor was to use those skills, in the courtroom and to try
to
be more charismatic and be able to speak from the diaphragm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess that helped a lot.
Yeah.
And then when did you do the restaurants also come into the picture?
So I can't sit still. I'm just a kind of a guy that always likes to entrepreneur, busybody. And so I started the restaurants a long time ago, 30 plus years ago. And it was always kind of just a passion. I loved people, I loved the food, and this is Malibu, an incredible setting, so it all came together here.
You have a special connection, let's call it, to Bulgaria as well.
I do have a special connection. It's a very special connection.
What do you like about Bulgaria? What interests you in that country?
Well, I'm very fascinated by the Bulgarian culture. My girlfriend, if I might say, Elena Infantino, is half Bulgarian.
Yes.
And she's a well-known singer and actress. And she kind of has inspired me. I always had a fascination for traveling. I've traveled most of the world, but I've never been to Bulgaria. But I'm a history buff, and I'm fascinated by the history of Bulgaria.
How many years have you lived in LA now?
I'm born and raised here.
Born and raised here with a short period in Europe?
Yeah, well,
all of Europe.
5 years in Europe, going to school.
Then why do you like LA? Why you've never changed?
LA is just an amazing city. It's constantly evolving. I mean, the weather, it's where there's a juxtaposition of entertainment, and we have science here. We have all kinds of, it's an amazing marriage of and blend of all different kinds of cultures and people here, and it's just a great place.
What is your favorite meal to cook?
Well, I have to confess, I mean, it's a weakness. I don't have it all the time, but I do not like a nice pasta that's prepared properly. So
you are very Italian.
I'm very Italian. Yeah, I am. Sorry to say.
Thank you very much.
It's been a great pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And welcome, and hope you have a wonderful stay here in California.
It is a wonderful stay, and it's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.